All right, let us start while we're waiting for Iman. Um, Again, thank you very much for your time joining Mimaki Australia's webinar in the final day of Mimaki Innovation Days. And some of participants has joined multiple seminars from Mimaki Australia in last couple of days. I really appreciate your time. And for especially Australian team, I'm really sorry to hear and feel all the matter happening from heavily rain and flood. If there's any support you require for your printing needs, printing business, please contact us. Contact our local reps, dealers, distributors, or even service engineers. So we will be more than happy to support you. So today, I'd like to welcome Mr. Iman Monem, who is Mimaki Australia's exclusive textile channel manager, which lives in Mimaki, Melbourne area, to present to you the more technical discussion regards to textile, Mimaki's textile printing solution, especially for direct printing and dye sublimation printing. So Iman-san, please introduce yourself and let's start. Let's get started.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Iman Monem, and I've been with Mimaki Australia since 2010. Sorry, in 2018, I've been with Mimaki Australia, and I've been in Australian print industry since 2010 in various sales and BDM positions, mainly supplying dye sublimation printers and consumables, DTG, direct-to-textile printers, heat transfer vinyls printers, cutters. I've been in printing industry since 1998, and I started with screen and pad printing, and I had training in Europe, and I fell in love with printing industry, and here I am, asking the question, why am I speaking today? Mainly, the question comes back to why Australian market is important and why is it growing. And when you think about it, it all comes back to I think it's from COVID and past COVID, everything which is happening with the in the market, supply chain issues, and inconsistency and unreliability that our customers do have on overseas suppliers. Many of our customers are thinking about bringing back the operation back to Australia, and this is one of the reasons that we're talking about how Mimaki can help you with the whole operation. And from A to Z, we have got the whole solution, a complete one turnkey solution for the textile printing. And in the next couple of pages, I will take you through whatever we've got to offer. So, as you're aware, there are two different ways to print onto textile: direct to textile and paper transfer. So, paper transfer sublimation only applies to polyester. So, anything with polyester content, it's not only fabric. So, also rigid media with coated polyester are dye sub-receptive and can be transferred by sublimation printing. And for direct to textile, I will explain later what we have got to offer. So first, we start with the sublimation printers. So historically, most of the sublimation printers in the world, including Mimaki, were solvent printers like JV series that we have. And then we came up with sublimation ink for it. So the CJV 15075 is the smallest dye sub printer that we have, which is basically originally a solvent printer. But when we set it up with SP54 ink, it can be used for sublimation purposes. And people who want to do promotional items, mugs, and small stuff, this is a perfect solution for if they want to have a very small sublimation printer. roll to roll. And then after that, the JV 150 160, which is a single head machine, 1600 millimeter wide, and JV 300 160, which is a two head machine, 1600 millimeter wide. The speed range from the CJV 175 to JV 300 varies from 58 square meter an hour to 112.50 square meter an hour on draft mode. And production mode, which is 720 by 720, you're looking at 16 square meter on this smallest machine to 29.50 square meter per hour on JV300, which is pretty good. And we also have on this P54 ink, we have got BMYK, light blue and light magenta. The reason that in Mimaki we don't say CMYK and we say BMYK, we say blue, magenta, yellow, black instead of CMYK is it's a long story again because historically the sublimation printers used to have CMYK blue and orange to get the blue they wanted, and it was really hard to achieve the blue color for sportswear. Mimaki offers a stronger cyan, and we call it blue. And with our BMYK, we can achieve very strong blue. And this is the reason instead of CMYK, we have got BMYK. And light blue and light magenta gives you a better skin tone and a skin gradation for people who wants to print photo quality. It means something, but for sportswear production, probably not. So after this range, we got into dedicated dye sublimation printers. And you probably ask, what is the difference? We already had that one. Why did we come up with a dedicated dye sub printer? What I can say, the dedicated dye sub, the printer is designed for sublimation. And most of these dedicated dye sub printers have got heaters on it, post 1 and post 2 on the ramp. And some of them have got external heater outside of the on the paper, because one of the most common issues in sublimation printing is cockling or rippling of the paper. And to avoid that, normally we need a heater sometimes, depending on the weather condition, humidity, and many other factors. Thickness of the paper, print speed, and the amount of ink you put on the paper. So all is important. And also the color profile that you use, which basically defines the amount of ink that you put on the paper. The only printer that we have got, basically the TS100, which is our entry-level machine, doesn't have heater, and it doesn't require a heater. Because it is an entry-level machine, and mainly most of the customers who get this machine, they do not put a lot of ink down, and the ink dries quite fast by the time it gets to the take-up roller. So I go through every one of these models one by one in the coming pages, and Tomo-san will explain about our new model, which is TS330, at the end of this presentation. So I start with TS100 1600, which go next page. The TS100 1600 sublimation printer, although it is an entry-level machine, but it suits many applications. So if you want to print for fashion, it can print up to 70 square meter an hour. If you want to do for sportswear, let's say it has got a 3-pass mode, which is perfect for that application, and you are looking at 46 square meter an hour. And if you want to print soft signage with a high quality 720 1080, 720 900 is the maximum resolution on this, you're looking at 19 square meter an hour. So basically, for these 3 applications, fashion, sportswear, and soft signage, it is a complete machine. It is a serious machine, not only entry level. And if someone really needs more capacity. They can have multiple printers of TS100, and with the considering the total amount of investment, which is really, really affordable. I'm not talking about prices in this seminar, but whoever has any question, we can definitely we can offer prices based on your location. If you are definitely in a remote area, it's different to the metropolitan area. So we don't talk prices, but all I can say is that this machine is the most affordable and the most cost efficient for most production. And it's kind of unbeatable by any other printer in the market. The next printer model that has been around in the market before TS100, and we have had it for over 2 years, is TS55 1800, which is a serious machine. And once we add the options to this machine, it's a semi-industrial die-cut machine. So when we talk about TS55, it's not only about the speed. It is about the cost of production. It is about the efficiency. So when you add the mini jumbo roll feeder on this machine, which can carry 2,500 meter roll of paper, which equals to 20 roll of normal paper, that means you will save a lot of time changing the rolls. Every time you change a roll, let's say 5 to 10 minutes. So you save that time, which is money for you. And also, it doesn't matter where you buy the paper from. Whoever you buy the paper from, if you get 2,500 meter roll of paper, it's called a mini jumbo roll, you save at least 20% on the paper cost. On the ink, 10-liter ink system, if you get a 10-liter ink system, you save 15% of the ink cost. So I can tell you that if you get a TS55 with the full options, which includes the mini jumbo roll feeder, 10-liter ink system, and additional heater at the front of the machine, you probably save a lot on the consumable side of it, while you will have a very solid printer with a very high quality, which can print up to 600 or 1200 meter resolution. And it has got the option to be set up with more than 4 colors. So what I forgot to tell you, the TS100, the previous model was 4 color only, which was BMYK. But with the TS55, you can have a BMYK with light colors, light blue, light magenta, light black, which is essential if you want to print photo quality on Chromalox and this sort of stuff. And if you want to set it up with fluoro colors, you will set it up with BMYK, light blue, light magenta, fluoro pink, and fluoro yellow. And that setup is very important to some sportswear manufacturers who require fluoro colors.
Hi, Martin. It's Jason here. I just got a couple of questions on this particular, I suppose, model. When you say available options, I mean, obviously we've got a couple of end users here watching the presentation. So if they would actually buy the TS55, you can actually buy it as a standalone option and a standalone printer. And at a later date, as your business grows, there's obviously an opportunity to add the bulk inking system to it and the paper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. They can buy the machine as a standalone and just a standard TS55 with 2-liter inks. And later on, if they wanted to add the mini jumbo roll or 10-liter ink system or additional heater, all of these options individually can be added.
Yeah, and you said before in regards to the bulk inking system, and obviously going from 2-liter bladders to 10-liter ink tanks. You said 15% saving. In regards to that to a customer, I suppose, what does that mean to an end user over a yearly period?
Okay, one machine, basically a TS55, which can print 135 square meter an hour. Yeah. For sportswear production, you're looking at 40 square meter an hour. Basically, the print mode, which is suitable for them, is 600 by 600. or 600 by 480. Yeah, 600 by 480. They can get 65 square meter an hour, and with that capacity, basically the rule of thumb is every meter of paper, the customers will spend $1 of ink. This is the rule of thumb for sublimation printer. Regardless of the ink they use, this they normally calculate like that. But when you talk about TS55, you can easily say that when you print 1 linear meter of paper, you are using much less ink. And in terms of annual consumption, this is the rough figure. So basically, one printer, you can spend easily $50,000 worth of ink on one machine if you use it 8 hours a day. So with the 2-liter ink, which is the normal price, RRP is $80 per liter. When you get a 10-liter ink, you're looking at $70 per liter. So this is how in Australia, this is the price I'm talking in Australia. So easily 15% saving on $50,000, you will save around $7,500 a year, only on one machine. And if you've got multiple machines, you can multiply that savings per machine.
Yeah, cool. And thanks, Armand. Thanks for thanks for your data and information on that one. I suppose my last question here is the 2,500 kilo feed roller. Is that guided by the actual paper weight of the material? I mean, and obviously with dye sublimation, you'd be able to answer this question better. But for people who are novices that are listening to this presentation, is there a limit weight to 95 GSM to 2.5 tons, or is it 125, 145? What's the story with this one?
The mini jumbo roll paper that we supply is 57 GSM. It's JetX 57 GSM, and its weight 230 kilos. One mini jumbo roll, which can be lifted. Basically, not one person or two person can handle it. So they need a forklift or a stacker to lift it up and put it on the mini jumbo roll. But they probably do it once every quarter or once every 2 or 3 months, depends how much they use. But again, they can buy papers from 30 GSM for fashion printers. They don't really need heavier than 30 GSM. For sportswear, if they want to get a thicker paper, let's say 90 GSM, 95 GSM, definitely it won't be 2,500 because there is a diameter limit that which can handle this mini jumbo roll feeder. I think the diameter limit is 500 millimeter as a memory. So if you put 90 GSM paper, probably you instead of 2,500, you will have 1,200 meter on that roll.
Yeah. Okay, so as long as it's actually within the diameter 500, we can actually place the roll onto the machine and the customer can use it. Because obviously there are times where people are, obviously we're starting to get into production and things like that. People are probably buying direct from overseas because of the volumes and things like that. I suppose what we're just saying is just giving them the support that the machine can actually take a certain diameter as well as the grammage of paper.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is diameter.
Yeah, sorry, I've got one more question. In regards to the print quality of the TS100 versus the TS55, I know the speeds are different and things like that, but obviously when you print onto a 57 gram to a 105 gram, does the actual print quality change versus the two models?
What is important to know, the application on the TS100, which is 4-color only, the main application is for printing patterns, or you print for sportswear. Density is more important than resolution, and definition is more important than resolution. So for this application, the TS100 is 900 by 720, which is the highest resolution, is quite good and quite enough for that application. But if you want to print on metal, which or photo quality, definitely you need a higher resolution printer like TS55 or the new TS330 that Thomas will explain further about it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Armand. Appreciate you taking the time.
No dramas. Okay, next page we'll go to the TS500. So we also have a 3.2 solution for people who want to print for exhibition events and super wide format for soft signage. point of sale, light boxes. So if you go to any shopping center, everything that you see in Meyer, David Jones, everywhere, they are all printed on fabric. And the reason is that the vibrancy of dye sublimation is second to none. There is no other printing method in the world that you can get that vibrancy. And this is the reason the sublimation is the predominant way of printing for soft signage. And you make beautiful, eye-catching signage in the shopping center, in the airports, and everywhere else, indoor signage, mainly fabric. The other reason is basically the flexibility and of the fabric. So if you put it aside, if you have got a hanging banner, you put it aside for a year, you fold it. After a year, you can iron it and you can hang it again and you can reuse it. But on the plastic, you can't do that. And mainly the other reason is the green side of it, and being the environmentally savvy people are looking at recycled polyester. And recycled polyester, when you're printing on them, basically you're printing on bottles in the ocean, and this makes a great basically contribution to Earth, I believe. So we have got the 3.2 solution for this application, and our TS500 3.2, which is a very serious machine, can print up to 180 square meter an hour. But I would say most of the people who print light boxes and they probably print with a higher density, so they're looking at 720, 1080, 15 pass of 6 colors, and 720, 1080 actually for 9 pass on 4 color. So you're looking at 50 square meter an hour, which is pretty good for a machine in that level. Obviously, there are machines in the market over 500,000, 1 million, and they can do basically, you can go over than that. There's so many options people have for this application, but our machine is a good mid-level machine. I don't say it's entry, it's mid-level, and it fits very well for people who already have signage and they want to add soft signage for exhibition and events and those applications. All they need is the same as all other sublimation printers. They need a heat press calendar, which probably on a 3.2 wide calendar would be, can cost a little bit, probably higher than the printer. So it depends on the model and the make they get.
Sorry, I just got a couple of questions again. Just in regards to the paper weightage on a 1.8 meter wide printer, 1.6, 1.8 meter wide printer versus a 3.2, is there an actual difference in the actual grammage of paper that the customer would use? Or is it the same paper?
The same paper can basically, the reason people use heavier paper when they print on 3.2, they don't go lower than 90 GSM.
Okay.
The reason is not printing. The main reason is pressing, because handling the 3.2 wide paper, if it is thin and you want to put it through the press, it is a very, very stressful job, and there is a big chance that you get some rippling on the paper. And every ripple, when you put the fabric on, you see all the cracks on or ripples it shows after the press. So this is the reason people tend to use 140 GSM in the past, but nowadays everyone is trying to use the minimum grammage that they can, and I think that for 3.2 no one goes lower than 90 GSM.
Thanks, Salman. You answered both questions I was going to ask anyway, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
No dramas. Okay. Next page, I go with so this is the lineup of the machines that I briefly walked you through all of them. So the JV series, as I mentioned, are entry level. The dedicated die sub machines are mid level, and the TS500, which is for a different market for exhibition and events. Again, it is in one page. I show you the applications. Sportswear and activewear is one of the most important sectors for sublimation, and it is a predominant way of printing for sportswear. The reason is that polyester, just imagine a rugby player You probably know the weight and height of the rugby player better than me, or Jason. Probably 1.8 height and with over 100 kilos. Just imagine if that person, instead of polyester shirt, if he wears a cotton shirt, how many ripped shirts we will have after the game. So everyone will be, all the shirts will be ripped apart. So polyester can be stretched, and these big guys, they can hang on into each other and it doesn't tear. And all the prints on it, it stays forever, because when it sublimates, the inks becomes part of the fabric. It doesn't matter how many times they wash the jersey, the sportswear, it will always be as colorful and as beautiful as it is in the first day. So this is the beauty of sublimation on sportswear. For fashion, definitely sublimation is one of the ways. So any fabric with a polyester content, as long as it's a 40% to 50% polyester on it, is it cotton polyester or linen polyester or any other natural fiber mixed with polyester, can be dye-sub receptive. And we have got very good fashion designers in Australia who print yardage, and they want roll-to-roll printed fabrics, and they cut it and sew it and make clothes out of it. I can see that one of the audience here is Daniel Watts from Sample Room and Pattern Room. I know that he can talk about this application for hours, but yeah, just I pass on that. And the other application is homeware, cushions, upholstery, and everything. During COVID, globally, I think we had a massive growth in this sector, homeware, and people are staying at home. They basically change the decoration more often. And in Australia, I would say we had 300% growth on the direct-to-textile printers, mainly for this application. But although direct-to-textile is more common and people have more tendency towards printing on natural fiber, but still polyester is demanded, and the reason is the vibrancy of the colors. So people who prefer vibrancy over the make of the fabric, they choose polyester fabrics which has got the natural feeling. So I've got polyester here which feels like linen and cotton, but this fabric is looks like canvas, but it is 100% polyester, and it is dye-sub receptive. And we've got linen as well. So the other application is rigid coated substrate, which is basically any substrate that has got polyester coating can be dye-sub receptive. I will explain about this application in the coming pages. For fashion and activewear, I just wanted to explain how enormous the Australian market is in that sector. I found this one as a good example. There's a company in Queensland called Exotica Athletica. And this lady, Leilani Chandler, she sold $7 million worth of one product, which is crop tops. And this article is from Daily Mail UK. And it is amazing to see that only one customer, one company, and I'm not saying that she's printing in Australia or overseas. The only important thing is that one product selling $7 million a year, it shows how much is this kind of product is demanded in the market, and how many people you wear leggings and crop tops, and they go to gym, or they just wear something to run on the street. They need this kind of products. So the fashion and activewear and sportswear, the reason this is coming back to Australia from overseas, first is quality, consistency of quality. If you order this to China or other countries, this is the reason that we have had this embarrassment even in the national level, that once in our Olympic team they were wearing the Australian, every different team had a different color, and it was on TV, and basically broadcast it globally, and everyone could see that the green and yellow is not the same on different teams. And it has already happened, and it can happen again if they use different suppliers, especially from overseas. But once they use a reliable local supplier, I can assure you that even if they order hundreds of times, they get exact same colors every single time. Australian safety standards are important, and we have got different rules and different ISO standards for different products. Quality assurance and guarantee. So you definitely, when you buy something in Australia, you definitely have a certain amount of warranty depending on the product that you purchase. We've got very certain rules and consumer protection laws. And when you buy from overseas, you definitely don't have such protection. More option for customization. Definitely when you order, and the most important thing is the last minute changes or last minute errors. So if something happens, you got a team, they want to go and have a play, and one of the names or numbers are printed wrongly. That company can fix it in no time, and they can, within a very short time, they can send you one correct jersey for that player. But if your supplier is overseas, it's impossible to do that. And one more environmentally friendly, which is we are living in 21st century, and I believe that everyone should care about the environment, and most of the Australian companies care about it more than anywhere else. And I think that the fabrics they choose and the whole production process that they choose, and the way they set up the production is all aligned with the goal of maintaining this consistency and also protecting the environment, including the ink spillage. So we do not, although the sublimation ink possibly doesn't damage the water as much, but most of our customers, they have got a tank, they put the ink in it, and they don't throw it in the drainage, which is the right thing to do. This is application. This picture is showing all the homeware applications that I already explained to you. Some of them are natural fiber that I will explain later how we can print them with our direct to textile range, and some of them are polyester, which are dye sub printed. So this is basically you can see curtains, tea towels, tablecloth, bed sheets, and even there are some fabric walls that you can print on fabric and use it like a wallpaper, which is very trendy, and I think it's one of the good applications for fabric. Any question in this area, Jason?
No, I think you're explaining it quite well. Thanks, Arman.
Okay. And the soft signage, again, as I said, it is a predominant way of sublimation printing, is predominant again for vibrancy, and for the different forms, like these tubular shapes can be rectangular, it can be like hexagonal, it can be like a cubic shapes, 3-side fabric, and one side can be LED. So it's a mixture of LED and fabric are basically in fashion. So if I know that you have probably seen them overseas when you go to FESPA or other venues, you see that the combination of fabric and LED is quite possible. And the reason is fabric is easily can be changed. So when you get a frame like this, or it can be one-sided, double-sided, or in the form of cube, you get that frame or cube once, and you change this printed skin as many times as you want. So your investment on the frame is once, which is probably a couple of $1,000 can be, depending on the size and dimensions. And but the printed skin is not that expensive. So in Australia, let's say they sell it for about $45 per square meter. So a printed skin about 2 meter by 3 meter would cost a couple of $100. But the complications of it is basically stitching a rubber at the edge of the fabric, and which goes and sits nicely into the frame. So this is something that not everyone can do perfectly. So I make an example. If you next time you go to shopping center, if you go to Connors or Meijer or most of the shops, you see that most of them are sitting very nicely and beautifully. But if you go to I don't know if it's right to name that shop, but one of the jewelry shops who gets from overseas, and it looks like a plasticky instead of fabric. It is kind of a more PVC fabric kind, and that one, you see that the corners of the frame is all wrinkled, and it doesn't sit flat. So yeah, so basically, although that shop is I just name it just because I'm pretty sure you go next time you have a go, because when I go shopping, I look at the signs. I don't well, women do window shopping, I do sign shopping. I look at the signs in the shopping center, and this is very important to me, that okay, which one looks nice, which one is sitting flat. And if you see Swarovski next time, you see that there's a big chance that you see the corners are all wrinkled, because they don't order in Australia, as far as I know.
Sorry, Arman, I've just got a question in regards to the importance. I mean, obviously the growth of textile in Australia has been paramount in regards to the amount of machines and inks that have actually been sold over the last couple of years, obviously just due to COVID and things like that, and obviously people taking on new technology in Australia as well. In regards to the actual finishing side, how has that actually gone in Australia? Is there more people actually getting into the finishing side? Is that a new industry in Australia, or is it just something that hasn't grown yet?
It's a very good question, Jason, because this is the most complicated part of it, and only 5 or 6 companies are big in that side, and they've got massive experience in doing this. Having said that, there are many suppliers from overseas who bring these tubular shapes and frames from overseas, and there's nothing wrong with them. And but because you buy them, any shop or any venue normally buy one of them, and then they reorder printed skin every month or every quarter or every occasion. Let's say Father's Day, Mother's Day, in the shopping center, or Christmas, you see different signs. Or every season, for summer, for winter, they change the photos according to the season. So, but answering your question, yes, there are growing. Definitely, there are more importers for this kind of stuff. So there are tens of companies who bring the tubular shapes and frames from overseas, and there are 5 or 6 companies who manufacture in Australia in a very good quality ones.
Yeah. So obviously, to get into this particular type of market, are we stating that 9 out of 10 people would actually do in-house finishing, and then the other 1 out of 10 would obviously outsource to these people, or is it actually more of an outsourcing perspective?
I would say most of the people who are doing exhibition events, they do have their own finishing.
Yeah.
But during the past 2 years, exhibition and events, as you know, hasn't been a big factor.
Yeah.
And this is the reason that their focus is now more into retail.
Yeah.
And for retail, it is much easier because not necessarily 3.2. So most of the signage, basically hanging banners and signage for soft signage for retail can be 1.8. So
Yeah.
doesn't really require 3.2, and people can do it with much less investment. They can get into that sector.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just due to COVID and this exhibition industry is getting impacted quite heavily. I wouldn't mind actually doing a webinar and actually interviewing a couple of these people at a later date, because anything that we can actually add value to them in regards to even our customers outsourcing. Some of these people may not even know them in Australia. So it's good to know that it's actually a growing part of the industry, but it's also more important that us as a manufacturer actually supports what people are in the local market doing for
Absolutely.
future.
Absolutely. And one of the other ones that you probably don't see very, basically doesn't come to everyone's eye is the flags. So if you go to Darling Harbour, there's over about 1,500 flags are hanging in Darling Harbour.
Yeah.
And they change it every 3 to 6 months, because it doesn't matter how you print them, they fade away because they're under the sun, and the UV rate in Australia is high. So the traditionally they were printing with the screen printing, and the screen printing ink, the way they apply it and the amount of ink they put on the fabric is different, so it lasts a bit longer. But with digital printing, it doesn't matter what technology they use. If they use dispersed, definitely with dispersed dye will be longer, but no one using dispersed dye, and most of them they use direct dye sub or dye sub transfer, and it doesn't last longer than 3 months, I would say. So it is a very, very it's a, when you think about it, 1,500 flags just one place, and the amount of time they change it, you can calculate how much money they spend on those flags.
Thanks, Aman.
No worries. Next one is about the coated substrate. So there are two major suppliers in the world, Chromolux and Duralux. And I have chosen Duralux here because Duralux with Mimaki ink, they warranty some of their products up to 8 years outdoor without laminate. So this is something new. This is something that not everyone in Australia know about it. Not everyone use it. Uh, the beauty of sublimation onto rigid media, which are coated with polyester, is first of all the vibrancy and the colors that you can see in these photos. Like one of the most common one is the wood pattern on panels, like this one on the ceiling. You can also get wood panels for the deck or in the building. So it looks exactly like wood when you look at it. But the good thing about it, the termite doesn't affect it, and it doesn't rust, it doesn't rotten, and basically it lasts much longer, and you can easily clean it, and it looks nice for many years, because as long as it is indoor, it doesn't fade at all. And as I said, the Duralux warranty for 8 years outdoor as well. So I know that there was some projects for outdoor in Sydney that they were looking to print on this kind of material in a very wide area before COVID, but the project fell apart after, because of COVID. But and having said that, so these applications are very important, like a splashback, backsplash, interior design, photography, signage, architecture, ceiling, and this is art and craft. So they've got hundreds of different products. These companies like magnetics, you can have golf tags, you can have coasters. There's so many products you can get with the polyester coating. And if you use the right paper with the right printer, so I would say our TS55 or TS30, if you set it up with light colors, with including light blue, light magenta, and light black. And Mimaki is one of the, I think we are the only company, if there are not many companies in the world supplying light black. So we call it photo black, and we get the best gradation and we get the best skin tone if you print a photograph, or and the customers who are photographers, they've got the best eyes in the world. And this is the reason that Mimaki is this is the main printer that they choose for this application. So all the big players in Australian market who print on metal, they are all using Mimaki printers for the same reason. They use because of light black, and actually our head technology, and the amount of ink, the picoliter, and the whole solution that we offer, including our software and the color profile for the right paper. So the best paper for this application is one of our dealer supplies, S-Race or Flex Scholar. and that paper is basically the best paper for this application. And they can basically get the highest quality print with the best print technology.
Hey, Iman-san, just a quick question though. When you say the rigid coating material, the rigid coating substrate in the dye sublimation usage, what's the benefit, comparing to the other technology, such as direct UV printing on a signage board, or printing a graphic on a PVC vinyl and applying to the board indirectly. So I think the result you get, final result, doesn't matter what, how good color is, and so on. The result you get is the same. But why the people would choose the rigid coating substrate printed with dye sublimation for these applications?
One of the reasons is, as I said, the vibrancy. So you cannot possibly get such a beautiful red. And how can you basically apply? Basically, it depends on the size and dimensions. Some of the stuff is not even flat. You cannot put it on a flatbed UV printer to print. The way they press is they've got a special press, so it's called a vacuum. So they put the paper on a curved substrate. They put it in a vacuum, which basically holds it without any gap or air in between the paper and the substrate, and they put it in a tunnel heat press. And it's a 6-meter tunnel. So there's a company in Sydney that you can go and have a look and see how they do it. And they manufacture under license with Duralux, called link powder coating. And they powder coat polyester on any substrate. So basically, as long as the substrate they can put hole on it and hang it in a tunnel, 6-meter tunnel. They can powder coat polyester on it, onto glass, on your screen door, whatever you want to print on. They powder coat polyester. They put the printed paper on it and vacuum it, put it in a tunnel, and sublimate onto it.
I see. Yeah, totally understood that. Thanks, Iman-san, for explanations. By the way, let me just interrupt for a minute. We have time, the shortly has come for the end of the session. However, we have about 3 times more participants coming in the last 10 minutes. So I would like to extend that session until 11:15 in Australian time. So I will let Iman-san keep talking, and we make sure that we will leave 10 minutes question and answer time at the end of the session. So Iman-san, please keep going.
Okay, I'll go quickly to the next ones.
No worries.
So the direct-to-textile printer, which is actually one of our most successful models that we have sold in Australia. And I think the main reason for this success is the global trends towards natural fiber. Countries like India, China, America, they manufacture a lot of cotton and linen. And then there is a high demand for these products. People, as I said, are more environmentally conscious, and although maybe it is a wrong perception that they think that cotton and linen is a green product, because when you think about it, cotton and linen probably takes 150 years to go back to earth, but the recycled polyester can be a greener substrate and a greener product. But again, as a supplier who supplies both sublimation and direct-to-textile, I leave it to the customers to decide which one they prefer, because at the end of the day, this is their decision. But this printer is one complete solution for both. So when you set it up as hybrid, you can have both pigment and dye sub. The machine comes with 4 heads. 2 heads can be dedicated to pigment ink, and 2 heads can run either with dye sub transferring or direct dye sub ink. Or you can have dye sub transfer and direct dye sub. So any combination of the 3 inks that I have put in 1, 2, 3, pigment, sublimation, and direct, any of these 2 can be set up in hybrid mode. But once you decide to set up the machine with reactive acid or dispersed dye, you cannot have it as hybrid, and it will be only one type of ink you have to run this machine. The TX Link 4, obviously, all of our Mimaki printers can be run with raster link if if the customer prefers. But TX Link 4, which is originally Ergosoft, is a much better software for textile printing, and especially if they print with pigment, they get much better colors. And they use less ink because it doesn't print as saturated as raster link. This is the reason we bring this machine from Japan with TX Link 4, and we sell it with the same RIP software, and most customers are happy with that. The printer speed varies from if they set it up with pigment only, the top speed would be 20 square meter an hour. If you set it up with sublimation, direct dye sub, your top speed would be 66 square meter an hour. But when you set it up as hybrid, this basically the speed will be halved. So basically the top speed would be 10 square meter an hour on pigment if you get it hybrid, and the sublimation, that the speed would be 33 square meter an hour. That would be the highest resolution, highest speed on the lowest resolution.
Sorry, Armand, I've got a question on that model there. How many out of these machines that you've sold with the TX300 Mark II, how many have actually been sold as a die only or have been set up as a hybrid?
We have sold two customers using direct dye sub only. Yep. For banners, and that's basically for soft signage, which is the. But most of the customers get this printer to print with pigment. Yep. So the majority of the printers we have got in the market are pigment only. Yep. We have got a few customers who've got it on as some hybrid, and mainly the customers who do not have room for two printers, or they cannot afford to have two printers. They are in a regional area. They just want to have one machine one for all. They print any polyester fabric with sublimation transfer and any natural fiber with pigment. So it is a perfect solution for them.
Yeah, and obviously market trends change from time to time. And if someone actually bought it as a hybrid system, can they actually change it to a single unit conversion? Can that actually be upgraded after the install?
Yes and no. Depends on the short answer is if we flush it, and if everything would come out clean, and we can put a new ink on it. So basically we flush it with the solution of that ink of the, let's say, pigment ink. Then we flush it with the solution of the other type of ink, let's say for acid ink, and then we put acid ink on it. But if one of the heads or doesn't clean up or something, then it requires, it is not always very, it can be costly or it can be cheap. So in theory it is possible, but how much does it cost? God knows.
That's okay. I mean, it's obviously just a question because obviously some people do change their markets and they pick up a contract, it's worth this amount of money, and sometimes the conversion's probably worth it. So and I appreciate you answering.
No, it's quite possible, but as I said, it is it depends on some of them. Conversion to the other one is easier, but the answer is because it is all aqueous inks or water based. I can say that they can be washed off properly most of the time, and they can be converted. And this chart shows which ink is suitable for which application. So basically, reactive ink is the most suitable for cotton, linen, silk, and rayon. But it is higher investment because if you use reactive ink, then you will need a steamer and washer and properly treated fabric for reactive printing. Otherwise, you cannot use any uncoated fabric to print reactive. While when you print with pigment, our printer can print on untreated cotton and linen without any problem. Of course, if it is treated, you get better definition, you get sharper images, but it doesn't mean that the printer cannot print on untreated cotton. Acid ink is perfect for mainly silk and nylon, and and wool, silk, wool, and nylon. If a customer wants these three types of fabric to print, definitely acid ink is the way to go. But again, they require a steamer, washer, and coater. And pigment prints on everything, and this is the easiest way to sell. This is the reason most people get this printer with pigment, because pigment is much less investment. They just need a fixation unit or heat press to fix the ink, 160, 170 degrees for a minute, and the pigment will be fixed. So that means they can wash it after. But it's not like dye sublimation that you can wash many times. The pigment, you probably after 50 wash, it fades. The same as any t-shirt that you buy from Kmart or anywhere else. After a few washes, it fades away. Dispersed dye is definitely the best way for printing flags, polyester and nylon, as a basically high energy sublimation. And basically, we don't have any customer buying this machine with dispersed dye at the moment, but this is something that we can supply if someone asks for it. And sublimation, direct sublimation, as I said, we've got 2 customers using it for printing banners, flags, and stuff, teardrops. They can print directly onto coated polyester. So they save on not using paper, but they have to pay a little bit more to purchase coated polyester instead of normal polyester. But when you do dye transfer, you can transfer onto any polyester. It doesn't require to be coated. And a sublimation transfer, that anything with polyester content, as I already mentioned, the same as our sublimation printers. This printer can be used, but definitely if your main job is sublimation only, you'd better have a dedicated dye sub machine instead of having this machine as a hybrid, because as I said, you sacrifice the speed. And if you've got the volumes, you'd better get this machine with pigment only and buy a dedicated dye sub machine separately. The next model that we have on the directed textile is the belt system. It is similar to the TX300. It also has 4 heads in line, and the beauty of these models is the Panasonic head. You can increase the head height up to 7 millimeter, and if the fabric has got a thick salvage, you won't have a head strike. And even at the highest head height, we don't sacrifice the quality. I can print on the highest head height and still get a very sharp and accurate dots. This is a sticky belt model, is suitable for always stretch fabrics such as bamboo, jersey, cotton, silk, or any stretchy fabric. The beauty of this machine is, first of all, the feeder. So as you can see on the back of the machine, it looks very complicated, and this is crumple-free roller. So this white bar spreads the fabric on both sides, so there will be no wrinkles on it when it goes under this paste roller. And this paste roller is heavy. It moves on the top of the fabric and holds it very nice and flat on the belt system, on the belt. And on the belt, we apply resin. So this resin is a natural resin, and when we set up the machine, we apply once. Depending on the type of fabric that you use, you may need to reapply resin every 3 months or 2 months or 6 months. Depends how much fluff comes out of your fabric, goes into the resin, and you lose the tackiness of the resin. Depends on how often you wash the belt, because the machine has got a washing system under it, which wash the belt frequently. Whenever you want to wash it, you press the wash button and start washing. So if you wash it very often, it loses the tackiness, and then you have to reapply the resin. The speed varies a lot, from 3 square meter to 53, depending on the quality, depending on the type of ink. So every ink has got a different speed. Similar to the previous model, if you get pigment only, the top speed would be 20 square meter an hour. So it's very similar. But the advantage of this model, as I said, is about having a more flat, so basically it's much easier to print. Some of the fabrics which has got a stretch on it, you can print on on the roll-to-roll model. But when you take it off the printer, you see that it is deformed because it all depends on the way you have put the fabric on a take-up roller. But on this model, because when you put the fabric on the belt, it's quite flat under the head, and there is no deformation, and there will be no basically no it will be consistent. You get a very good consistent quality. Yeah, we've got this pigment, direct dye, sub-reactive, acid, and disperse ink also for this model. Obviously, this model is not suitable for sublimation transfer because of the belt system. You cannot have a paper on it, and definitely you cannot set it up as hybrid. It is only one type of ink it can be set up with. Yeah, I think that this machine comes with TX Link 3, which is the previous version of TX Link 4. But again, we've got all the profiles for pre-treated and untreated fabrics, and that you can use to get the very reasonable quality for this application, which is mainly for clothing or printing patterns for homeware and another application, depending on the type of ink that you use. If you use reactive and acid, definitely is clothing, and if you use pigment, it is definitely for homeware. Any question on this machine, because it's the most complicated machine that we have? No? Okay, because just to tell you that the installation of this printer normally takes 4 days for us, for our technicians. They have to make it level, they have to apply the resin, and it is the very, very, once they set it up, it will be running very well.
Aman, it's Brad here.
Yeah, hi, Brad.
Just going back to that printer, it's probably more regarding natural fiber printing a little bit more. Regarding reactive and acid, what sort of growth, what's your opinion of the growth that you've seen in Australia regarding that? Obviously, technology has improved, but going back a decade, it was a very niche market. We had very little users in that space. Where do you see the growth in that?
The complication, as you know, is the steamer and washer and coater. It is not an easy way to print with reactive or acid. Historically, there have been a few companies. Actually, there were more companies doing it traditionally rather than digital. So still, there are people who do reactive screen printing, or they use acid dyes to dye the fabrics traditionally. But for printing with this method, Mimaki only has one customer in Melbourne with reactive ink, and she has got also a steamer and coater from Mimaki, the Rimslow that Mimaki took over, and I will explain in the coming pages that what we have got to offer on this area. But but answering your question, I see that there are more demands coming, and I'm pretty sure in the future we will get more queries for that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, man.
No worries. Here is what we have got in Rimslow, which is we took over this company over 4 years ago, Mimaki, and it was an Australian company called Rimslow. And now we call them TR series. And this TR series comes in 2 models, TR300 and TR600. The TR300 are basically suitable for our TX300 printer models, and the capacity is relevant to those printers. And TR600 is the capacity is relevant to our Tiger presses. That I didn't talk about Tiger because we do not have any customer with Tiger press in Australia, and it's kind of an overkill for Australian market. Tiger can print 385 square meter an hour, and basically maybe in the future we will have some inquiries for Tiger press, and then we also talk about TR600 series. But just to complete the to have a complete package and complete solution for TX300 models, we have got here a TR300 1850C coater. So the pre-treatment agent you apply on the fabric for pigment and reactive are different. And we have got all the recipes for different applications. And we also have so many chemical companies in Australia who supply these chemicals. The main one that I use here in Melbourne called CHD. And I don't know if Mandy is here in this one of the audience, but yeah, she is the one who supplies the chemicals to our customers who need pre-treatment. And it is a very compact solution for having a consistent pre-treated fabric. If you want to buy the pre-treated fabric, it is slightly more expensive, and there are a few suppliers in Australia who supply cotton, linen, and a mixture of other natural fibers pre-treated for pigment printing. Their fabrics are pretty good, and most of the customers are happy with them. They don't really have a need to have their own pre-treatment solution. But if they're looking to print with reactive ink, they definitely need to have their own pre-treatment. Otherwise, they cannot buy it from anywhere with a good pre-treatment, which is consistent and always you get a good quality. And if it is not pre-treated properly, you get basically patchy result. The next machine is a steamer. So if you set up the machine with reactive or acid ink, you definitely need a steamer to basically to fix the ink on the fabric. So what happens, this steam normally 105 degrees, it steams and fix the ink on the between 102 to, yes, it says saturated steam 102 degrees, but I know that for reactive ink, my customer use 105. And to fix the ink on it. And then when you fix the ink on the fabric, there are some residues on the fabric which needs to be washed off after. And then we talk about the washing, because if you do not wash them off, they reattach to the fabric, and then you will get a stain on the white areas. So it's very important to steam at the right temperature, and then you wash it off. Here, the washer that we have is for 600 series. We do not have washer in 300 series, so the capacity is much higher, and it comes with 4 washing tanks and 1 spray washing system. Very complete system. Definitely not cheap, and as I said, not for everyone. Reactive ink is reactive, and acid is very complicated printing system. And but if someone would be interested to talk about this system, I will always be available to discuss further. But we just move on to the next page, which is, here is our showroom in Melbourne. We have got a wide range of dye sub transfer system as well as direct to textile. We've got the TX300 model and all the transfer system, TS55 and TS100, that I'll be happy to organize demo for any customer. During COVID, I was mainly doing online demos and sending the printer samples to the customers in every state. But but now that people can travel, you're always welcome to our showroom here in Mulgrave in Melbourne, and I'll be happy to take you through that. And apart from the printers, we also have a Monty press in our showroom, and also a flatbed press on the back here that I use for Chromolux and Duralux and coated rigid media. I use that one, but our Monty is definitely very important addition to our showroom, because I don't know any other company having a Monty press in their showroom, and this is I'm very lucky to have this Monty press where I can basically demonstrate the whole process from the beginning to the end. And here is the success story. Now, I thought that you would be interested to know that one of our customers in WA, who's 1,600 kilometers above north of Perth in a place called Roebourne, Sue and her husband, she had a passion for textile. She was doing it as a hobby, and she turned that hobby to a successful business by having a TX300 model set up as hybrid. She has created a lot of jobs for indigenous people. She has impacted the life of all the indigenous artists in that area, and her business is growing massively, not only for pigment, also for dye sub, because she's the only one in WA supplying soft signage. And the customers are not only in basically mainly in WA, but she also sells to other states as well. And it's great to see someone coming with zero experience in printing, coming that strong and being that successful. And I'm very proud to be part of that success. She got a printer and a press from our dealer, and now here she is. She's one of the main suppliers in WA. The rest of the demo is Tomo-san will take you through the new model TS330 and explain. And I'm also here if there's any question that I can answer. Tomo-san, you can continue.
All right, Ima-san, thanks very much for your the presentation. Really appreciate your knowledge base for textile applications. Unfortunately, the session will be finished in 2 minutes, so I won't be able to do a presentation of this 330 TS series. However, the recorded session is available. If you go back in browser and look at the agenda from yesterday, there's a full record session available for this presentation of the 330 model. Furthermore, the Mimaki Australia, myself, will have the session this afternoon, 4 o'clock Sydney time, for the brother of TS330 model, which is a JB330 Sign Graphics printing solution. So again, I really sorry to not to have enough time for question and answer. If anyone has got a question, please don't hesitate to send an email inquiry to Iman-san, which is iman.monem@mimaki.com. I believe that it won't be mind that we've got about only 10 participants at this moment. So, but please communicate with Iman-san for further details. One more thing, again, I'm really sorry to hear that all the lives are affected by rain and flood in New South Wales and Queensland. And I really wish you the best in the next couple of weeks. If you need any support required from Mimaki for printing business, please call us and talk with one rep from us, tech support or sales reps, so we get in touch with you. Thank you very much for your time joining us, and I will see you in this afternoon session. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.